Okay, the data to the right represent the top speed in kilometers per hour of all the players except goaltenders in a certain soccer league. Construct a relative frequency distribution, a frequency histogram, and a relative frequency histogram. Okay, and so we want to be able to round this to, it says 4 decimal places as needed. So there's two ways that we can do this. We can do this by hand, or we can put in a formula in StatCrunch. Let's open up the data in StatCrunch. Okay, so what we want to do is we first need to find the total number of players. So we want to go to Stat, select Summary Stats, go to Columns, and we're going to select that column, and then what we want to be able to do is find the sum of that column. So the sum of that column is 572. So we're going to keep that number handy. Now what we want to do is we're going to go to Data, and then we're going to select Compute, and then Expression. Okay, in that expression, we're going to go ahead and build it. And so we're going to take the number of players, meaning the number of players. You want to click on that to make sure it's up here, and we're going to divide it by the total, meaning the total that we got, and that total was 572. So we're going to divide that by 572. Okay, and then we're going to select OK. And now we're going to call this the relative frequency. And so it's going to create a new column that is the relative frequency. And it's telling us to round it to 4 decimal places. So what's nice here is you can either, take a look at the number 0.052. So that's 0.0052. And then the next one is 0.0122. So 0.0122. And then we have 0.024, that should be rounded to 5 because it's 4 decimal places. So 0.0245. So 0.0245. The next one is 0.1311, so we don't need to round that. So 0.1311. The next one is 0.5069, which means we need to round that, which makes this a 7 and that a 0. So that becomes 0.5070. So 0.5070. And then the last one is 0.3199. So 0.3199. And let's check our answer, and there is our result. So that is our relative frequency. Now what we want to do is we want to construct a frequency histogram. Okay? So we can take a look at our data and determine what's happening here. Okay? So we know that our frequency for the first class is going to be 3 and then 7. So if we look at the first choice, A, we're going to rule that one out. If we take a look at C, we also rule that one out. Now we need to take a look at B and D. So looking at B and D, okay, we see that we have a frequency here, okay, and let's go ahead and do that. We'll highlight a little bit more. So it looks like it is 3, and then it goes to 7. Now the next one goes to 14. So does that go up to 14 for the next class between 18 and 22? It looks like this one goes to 14. And then this one goes to 75, and then this one goes to 290. So that means D is going to be our choice. Okay, so we don't need to create this by using StatCrunch. We can just look at the data. Okay, now our relative frequency histogram should be the same as our frequency histogram. So we just need to find the same one that matches that. So if we take a look at that, we can see that D matches the same graph over here with our relative frequency scale. So let's take a look at C, and there is our answer. Okay, now it says the percentage of players that had a top speed between 18 and 20.9 kilometers was what? Well, that means we need to go back and take a look at the relative frequency and look at that class. And we need to round it to 2 decimal places. So let's take a look at 18 to 21.9. So we have 0.0245. Okay, so let's take a look at our calculator. We have 0.0245. If we multiply that by 100%, then we get 2.45. So they want us to round it to 2 decimal places. So that's going to be 2.45%. Okay, now it says the percentage of players that had a top speed less than 13.9. So what would be less than 13.9? Well, anything less than 13.9 is going to be this result. So we're going to take 0.0052. We're going to multiply that by 100%, and that gives us 0.52%. So that means that our answer is going to be 0.52%. And that concludes our question.